So let's kind of recap this whole buyback situation because, my plan as of the last update was, okay, they've denied the buyback. They denied the dispute to the buyback. And the attorney said, yeah, there's really not enough evidence to go on here. We need more. So my next step in this whole process was to open a support case and say, look, these are the issues I'm still having. We need to get them addressed. And so I made a service request with like 9 or 10 different things that needed to be addressed. And, I had been in contact with the manager at the local Tesla service station. Couldn't think what it was called. I'd been in contact with the manager. He's well aware of the situation, what's going on. He's well aware that, there's not a whole ton of problems or, not one single issue prevents me from using the truck. Not one single problem, is like so major that I can't bear driving it. But there are a lot of little issues that just kind of add up over time. And when you get to 10 of them, it's like, okay, really? Like $120,000 truck, trucks aren't that expensive and very few are. And when you do buy a truck in the 120 range, you kind of expect something different out of it. My dually that I had was 105. I think it's stickered for about 109. But, you come to expect a level of quality out of that it's like, you don't have as many issues, and you shouldn't have as many issues. The company should take the extra time to build a better truck because it's one of the higher end ones. And so that's kind of the opinion that I had about this one. This is a high end truck. So it should have fewer problems. And I know that Tesla always has some kind of problem, and most of the time you can get them fixed. But that's where my second issue came up, that they just wouldn't fix the issues. Every time I would go in to service, it was, oh, this doesn't exist, or unable to reproduce, or whatever. So when I arrived at the service center this time on Friday, I was greeted by the manager, and he did a ride along with me to try to pin down every single issue that I was having.
Left to take the Interstate 40 East ramp.
All but 2 of those 10 issues were identified while he was driving. And that's great. Finally, they will get addressed. Finally, they're saying more than just unable to replicate or unable to reproduce, whatever. So we went with that. They ended up giving me this truck that I'm driving right now, which is a loaner. It is a Cyber Beast. It's the same thing as mine, basically. It doesn't have the light bar. It doesn't have window tint. So our windows are just bad. But, a lot of the issues that my truck has, I can see that this truck doesn't have. However, this truck has its own whole slew of issues that are just different than the ones I have. They're still issues, but they're not the same issues. So, one thing that I did notice though is the front suspension clunk in this one as well. And I've been hearing that this is a beast issue. It's because it's a beast. There's nothing wrong. They've been telling me that for months, and I drove an all-wheel drive and it didn't have the issue, and I'm like, well, if one has it and the other one doesn't, there's got to be something going on. And I think this falls back on, the front-wheel drive bias in the Cyber Beast, whereas it's rear-wheel drive bias in the all-wheel drive. That's ultimately what's causing the noise. It's not an issue, it's not a problem, it's not a concern, it's just annoying. I think it's the price you pay for getting a beast, because you do have that massive acceleration, you do have that massive torque, but you pay a small price of, I'm probably going to have to deal with some noises in the front suspension if I want to have a beast. And I've come to terms with that. I think the trade-off is actually kind of worth it. My biggest issue was if there's something wrong with the beast, you know, I don't want to be driving it and the front suspension fall out and under it, you know, or a wheel fall off or something crazy. So now I'm reassured knowing that's not the case. Not going to be an issue. So I'm a little less concerned about it now. And I think I can live with it. But all the other issues that I reported, the squeaky center console, the wobbling mirror, all were addressed in this appointment. And they've told me they fixed it. I haven't picked the truck up yet, but they've told me they fixed it, which is a huge improvement. This is the 4th time I have reported this wobbling mirror. And every time they say, oh, we can't, this is within spec, this is normal, whatever. Manager drove it, he got up to 75 and he said, wow, that is moving. And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you. So they replaced the mirror. I'm not real sure how that worked, but somehow when replacing the mirror, they peeled the tint off my window. So they told me I'd have to get this window retinted. And I'm wondering if they broke the window and had to replace it when, you know, getting in here, because why would you need to peel the tint off? That doesn't make any sense. So who knows? So I'm going to have to get that done, but they said they would pick up the cost. It was their fault, so they'll pick up the cost to get the tint redone, which is great. Even down to the cant rail, which, like I told you earlier, I had some damage up here at the very tip top of my cant rail. This one's got a saggy roof liner. It's a loaner. I had some damage at the top of my cant rail. I think it's called cant rail, or is it cantrail? Anyway, it came that way. There was nothing I could do about it. You know, there's no amount of polishing to get it off. So I was excited about the recall because that was going to fix that issue. However, the recall brought new issues where it was just massively misaligned in the rear. And I reported that, and I didn't expect that they would do anything about it, but I was reading the notes from it being repaired, and they replaced the cant rail again, this time to get it aligned without, you know, I don't know why we're changing lanes. We just went to the left lane. There's no one in front of us, but there's a car in the left lane who's going slow. So now we're behind the slow car. I feel like FSD on the Cybertruck is still a couple of years behind as far as how good it goes. It is progressively getting better. Day by day it gets better. But I think it's still pretty far behind what the current Model Y, Model 3 can do. So yeah, I'm on my way now to go pick the truck up. I'm kind of excited to see if they actually did fix all the issues. According to the notes, everything I had complained about except for 2 things were addressed. The first was the seat. My seat started squeaking, but when we were at the service center, it wouldn't squeak. So I don't know if that was just a one-off. What happened? I don't know. But they told me if it happens again, they'll set me up where I can just come in. I don't need an appointment, and they'll take care of it. I guess the other one was the front suspension clunk, which, you know, like I say, I wanted to be sure. I wanted to be 100% that this is not some major issue that's going to catch up with me sometime down the road. I don't want to have to deal with that. Especially, you know, once the warranty goes out and then I start having suspension issues, that's going to be an issue. So now that I know this brand new truck had 2,000 miles on it when I got it, does it? Yeah, okay, it makes sense. So yeah. But everything else of the 10 issues was addressed and attempted to be repaired. We'll see. We'll give them a chance. So I'm on the way to go pick the truck up. I've tried to get a hold of my tent company to say, hey, can you just do my window today? Just one window. I don't care if I have to wait. Just squeeze it in somewhere. I really need this window done. Haven't heard back from them. So I think if I don't hear back from them by the time I pick the truck up, I'm just going to drive there and see if I can just try to, hang out and wait for an opening sometime today. But I really don't want to have to make the drive back. It's 2 hours from me to the Tesla service center, and it's an hour and a half from me to the tent company. So a 30-minute drive from Tesla to the tent company would be worth it, in my opinion. So I don't want to have to make that drive again just to get the tent fixed. So anyway, yeah, so that's the update. I think I'm probably just gonna put new tires on the truck and drive it. I'm not so worried about mileage at this point. I was trying to kind of keep the miles low for a little bit because it's like, what if I want to trade it? What if they want to buy it back? What I might end up doing, I don't know. As far as trades went, Tesla offered 84,000 trade-in, which I thought was really good, and I almost took it. But what I would have really wanted to replace it with would have been the Model Y Performance, which at the time was not out. And then, there's the whole thing of, well, I don't have a truck anymore. Is that really worth it? And I decided that it was not worth it. Last night, the Model Y Performance dropped about 4 or 5 hours before the tax credit expired. So if you ordered it last night, you could have gotten the tax credit on it when it comes in. Which, plus and minus, because they weren't offering financing for some reason. It was cash only to order it last night. And I was like, what? So, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to hang on to it. Honestly, I can't think of another EV truck on the market today that would beat the Cybertruck in every aspect. And that's kind of me. It has to beat it in every aspect. It can't be good in some things and bad in others, because I feel like the Cybertruck's better already. If it's bad in other areas, Cybertruck's better. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. That's what we're looking at. I am also working on, and I might try to do it today actually. Been working on a comparison video that I'm not having a lot of luck with, but there's people on YouTube that have opinion. Everybody has an opinion, right? But there's people who have the opinion that the F-150 Lightning can charge faster than the Cybertruck, and I refute that. I don't think that's true, because while the F-150 Lightning has a pretty flat and solid charging curve, it doesn't peak very high. I think 180 kilowatt is the max, and it falls off of that within 10 minutes. So I want to find, because that's the thing, I don't have a Lightning and I'm not going to go rent one, but I want to find a video where someone has done a charging test with their Lightning. The problem is, when I filmed the charging test in this truck the other day, I went from 15 to 85. I thought that was a fair comparison, because the Lightning falls off at 80. At 80%, it hits like 60 kilowatt, and it's just dead for the rest of the way. So I thought 85 is a fair comparison to say, we'll take both trucks to 85. And my thought was, well, if I could find a video where someone charged their Lightning from whatever to 100, I could just stop it at 85 and say, okay, here we are. This is where we stop. The problem is, the Lightning gets a boost. For the first 10 minutes after you plugged it in, it boosts, and you get the highest possible charging rate for 10 minutes, and then it drops off. So if they plug their truck in at 0%, I have to plug mine in at 0% for it to be a fair comparison. I can't start at 15 and say, well, here's the Lightning at 15 without the boost. That doesn't work. It's got to be fair. And so I filmed that one, and I was like, I should probably redo that. And I thought, I'm going to try to find a 325 kilowatt charger, because this truck can peak 325. And you know, obviously it's not going to hold it very long, but every little bit's going to help in that. And even today, among my travels, I am expected to arrive at the 325 Charger at 15%. So yeah, I really don't have a lot of time with this truck. I can't be goofing around with it for hours. So I need to get it to close to 0% as I can, but at the same time, I don't really have time. So I'll probably plug it in at 15, video it, and try to make something out of that. But I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's the update. That's what's going on right now. Looking for tires for the Cybertruck because I'm going to need them fairly soon. I'm going to try to stick it out till about November, maybe December. And then it's time. I've got to get new tires. I want new tires before any kind of weather hits. And they're okay for now. I think I actually haven't checked the front tires in a while, but I'm going to guess that they're probably about 5 30-seconds. And my rears are about 3 30-seconds. So the rears are almost legal minimum. And the front, I think they could last until the first snow, and then it's like, okay, need new tires. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm really hoping for a deal. You know, Black Friday's coming up. If Discount Tire throws a Black Friday sale, that's me. I'm all about it. So anyway, yeah, that's the update. That's what's going on. More videos coming down for you because I got more things to talk about, but not in this video. So see you next week.